Welcome everyone to the School Improvement Institute video on Goals Update. This video is for um, uh, Update 1 and Update 2 schools. My name is Sue Reynolds and I'm president of the American Student Achievement Institute. So we wanted to begin with just a few tips for the steering team, and then we'll go into the presentation for your council for this month. One of the things that we wanted to make you aware of was the Indiana College and Career Readiness Survey that's published by our organization as part of our Redesigning School Counseling Initiative. We know a lot of our SI2 schools are taking part in the Lilly Counseling Initiative, and that you're using this semester in the planning phase to redesign your school counseling program. And we wanted to let you know that on January 11th, this survey will be open to and available for all schools across the state. So if you are participating in that Lilly initiative for school counseling, regardless if you're an RSC school with us or if you're using some other technical assistance provider, you are invited to use this survey. We surveyed 40,000 students last year. The most we've ever surveyed is 80,000 in a year, but we can go statewide very easily. So, and we're set up to do statewide. So please take a look at the survey. I think you'll find it very helpful. Just wanted to show you some things that are in here if you decide to give our College and Career Readiness Survey. There's a whole section on student engagement. So those are the kinds of questions that you would find on that section. Do you usually ask teachers for help when you're confused? You always turn in your homework. There's another section on student plans. This would give you an idea of the percentage of students in your elementary school, middle school, or high school that are planning to continue their education after high school and what kind of diploma they're thinking about getting. All the questions are grade level specific, so we wouldn't be asking a first grader about what high school diploma they're planning to receive, but these just are types of questions. The big part of our Redesigning School Counseling Survey is on student choices, and again, I think for school improvement this would be helpful information as well. So we're basically asking students if they did the things that typically successful students tend to do. So do they participate in class? Do they turn in their homework? Did they visit a college campus? Did they attend a program about financial aid? So yeah, so all of the things that traditionally and typically students tend to choose to do when they're successful at school, this survey would cover. We also look at guidance needs. This covers the knowledge that students have in terms of their career development, academic development, and their social emotional development. So there's those questions. And then there's counseling needs. I think this would be really of interest, again, to school improvement as well as to school counseling. So we're asking the students, you know, what social personal issues are making it difficult for them to be successful at school. And I think this would be really interesting information to have in terms of school improvement as well. Perceptions of the school counselors. Basically, we're asking about the students' perceptions, the counselors' knowledge and skills and dispositions. So, so there's that question. And then basically, I just want to run through real quickly how you might use this information for school improvement as well as to redesign your school counseling program. So one question, do you know where to find extra help in your courses if you need it? And this is actually real schools data. And we're seeing here that, that about 3/4 of the kids say that they do know where to find extra help. But we have, what, 310 students that don't know where to find extra help. So that's a good, you know, a good percentage of the students in this building. So what I wanted to show you is that in the RSC survey we're able to do two things. One, we can drill down that data. So if we want to know who are the kids that don't know where to find extra help, we can search by grade level. In this case, there's not much of a difference. We can search by lunch program, free and reduced lunch. And we're not seeing a huge difference, an 8-point difference, but not a huge difference. But this is data that I think would be really of interest to school improvement. We ask kids to tell us what kind of grades they typically get on their report card, and then we disaggregate all of the data that way, and it becomes very clear why students who are not achieving are not achieving. You know, in this case, we have a very low percentage of students who get D's and F's on the report card who say that they know where to find extra help. So you can see that in that last column of the D's and F's kids, there are 25 students who either don't know where to find extra help or aren't sure where to find it. And the thing is that our survey, and this is very different than SI2, our survey will allow schools to communicate directly with those kids. So you can have our system provide you with the email addresses for the students who said that they didn't know where to find extra help, and then you can send those kids directly an email to explain how you provide extra help in your building. Or you can send their parents a letter to explain, you know, how you provide extra help. So you can get mailing labels out of the system as well as an email list with commas between the emails for the students. So in this case, you could send the 25 students an email if you just wanted to focus on your kids to get D's and F's. Or if I were doing it, I'd send all 310 an email to explain how we provide extra help. So there's lots of different ways that you can use this system for school improvement as well as to redesign your school counseling program. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Again, the survey opens on January 11th, and we'll be sending out information to your counselor about that probably tomorrow, maybe Monday, to make sure that everybody's aware that the survey's available. Okay. So now let's talk about prepping for your next council meeting, which is to update your goals. So there's one task to do before the meeting, and that is to send the achievement data report to your council members. So we suggest that you open the report, save it as a PDF, and then send it as an email attachment to your members. And then we're asking them prior to your meeting to indicate and be prepared to talk about data that please them, data that disturb them, and then data that would indicate that there's achievement gaps. So we're kind of, you know, doing that please, disturb, and gaps task again. So then the next step is to make sure that you've printed copies of your goals report that you'll distribute during your meeting. So we have a pre-meeting activity to do, and then your meeting we'll look at your current goals and make some revisions to them. So okay, in the student body discussion, what we're suggesting is that in small groups or as a writing prompt, you're distributing a list of your current goals. So I would just use your SMART goals, and it'd also be real sensitive about goals for specific student groups. Like if you have an achievement goal for Hispanic students, you know, you might not want to be pointing your finger at the achievement improvement needs of Hispanic kids with the student body. So just be kind of sensitive to that. So you're having this list of 5 or 6 of your current goals, 3 or 4 of your current goals, and then you're going to add any possible new goals that the steering team has identified that you want the kids to be weighing in on. So after you've looked at your updated achievement reports, you're adding possible new goals, and again, you don't have to add any new goals if nothing jumps out at you, but if so and you want the kids to weigh in a little bit, then you'd add those. And then we're simply asking the students to reach consensus in their small groups, or if they're doing a writing prompt, to write about the 3 goals that they believe to be most important, and then to state why they believe those goals to be important. So the kids who go over your list of 6 or 7 possible goals for next year, and then they would come up with the goals that they think are most important for you to work on. So okay, so that's the student body prompt. And then just looking ahead as a reminder, and we'll get to this in the council presentation as well, but as a reminder, we're starting now to create the school improvement plan for 2017-18. And the first step is to update the goals based on the new data that you have, that you've collected in past months. And then in February, we'll look at your root causes and determine if we need to make any changes in those. And then in March, we'll update your interventions so that they still address the root causes that you have. And then in April and May, we'll prepare for implementing the interventions. So that's the coming year in a nutshell. Okay, so that's the prep, pretty short and sweet. Basically, we're just looking at we're looking at achievement data, what pleases, disturbs us, what do we see, where do we see gaps, and then we're going to look at the goals that you currently have and decide what we need to do with them, and then possibly add new goals based on the stories that are in your new data. So, okay, let me pause here real quickly, and I guess if anybody wants to make a comment or ask a question, they could either raise their hand and we'll unmute you, or type in a question. And Tina, I'll check in with you and see, do we have any questions? Tina Weissman is on our call too. Tina?
Hello and Happy New Year, everybody.
Hi, Tina.
No questions yet. There was one possible audio issue, but I'm not getting any information back from that right now, so I'm hoping that maybe corrected itself.
Okay.
So I think we're okay.
Good. And can you hear me okay, Tina?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Give us a snow report from Otwell. What do you guys got?
Well, we were kind of unique because usually if we think about snow, we cancel in this area. We were the only school district not to cancel. And yeah, all of Du Bois, Gibson, Knox, Vanderburg, everybody canceled but us, but they did release at 1 o'clock. So
interesting.
So now it's just, it's kind of like where Steve's at. It's just coming down. It's kind of pretty, and it's not, I don't think it's doing a whole lot of harm right now.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get started. And remember, we'll divide this webinar into 2 sections so that in this next section, I'm going to be talking directly to your council. And then I'll be suggesting at certain points that you pause the video and have discussions. And then when we're finished with the council discussion, we'll have the final part of our webinar, which is to see what last questions you have. Okay, so here goes. So I'm just going to start afresh because I'm now talking to your council. And Tina, you want to make sure to record the time so that we know where to split this recording into 2 parts. Okay, here we go. Welcome to our School Improvement Councils. This is the discussion prompt for your 3rd discussion. And today we're going to be talking about updating the achievement goals that are in your school improvement plan. My name is Sue Reynolds, and I'm president of the American Student Achievement Institute. Okay, so let's just begin with an overview of the year, a quick overview. So during the first semester, your task as a council was to make sure that the strategies, the interventions in your current school improvement plan were implemented. So we wanted to make sure that they were implemented fully and implemented with integrity. So that's been kind of your focus on the first semester. So we started out in September by updating the steering team. We kicked off your interventions in September, and then in December you participated in a discussion with your council about evaluating your interventions to see, were those interventions in place? Could we observe them? Do we have data behind them yet? So we wanted to make sure those interventions really took hold. So now we're talking about second semester, and in second semester we have 2 tasks as a council. Your first task is to make sure that the interventions in your current school improvement plan continue to be implemented throughout the second semester. So your teachers, your principal, the educators on your council, they'll make sure that that's still happening. And then your second task as a council is to create next year's school improvement plan. But we're not going to start from scratch. We're going to start with this year's plan and make adjustments to it. So the question is, given who we are now and the new student data that we have, what adjustments do we need to make to our school improvement plan? And specifically today we're going to be talking about, given the new achievement data that we have, what adjustments do we need to make to our achievement goals in our school improvement plan? Okay, so in the process now we're on step 3, which is the goals update. I want to look forward a little bit and then we'll come back and look at goals. So in February, after you've updated your goals this month, in February you'll look at another set of updated data to help you figure out why students aren't meeting the goals that you defined this month. We call that root cause data. It's the root cause assessment, and you're really looking at why aren't kids achieving at a higher level. Then once we know what the whys are, what the root causes are, then in March we'll start looking at interventions. And those are all the strategies that you'll put in place both in the school and in the community to address your root causes. That'll be your final discussion, and then in April and May the educators, the steering team, will begin to prepare for the implementation of those interventions next school year. So they'll do professional development if needed, they'll develop an annual calendar, and if there's funding or materials or other resources needed for the interventions, they'll secure those things between now or between April, May, and next school year. Okay, so that's the process in a nutshell. And now let's focus on today's task, which is your achievement goals for next year. So this is a pretty simple discussion. It's going to involve several steps. So your steering team gave you a copy of the achievement data report before coming to this meeting. And what they asked you to do was to identify any data that you found pleasing, you were happy with the achievement level of the kids, or disturbing. So you were looking for pleasing data and disturbing data. And then the other thing we asked you to look at was there any indication of achievement gaps in that data? Was there a case where maybe your ninth graders looked like they had great achievement and then things fell off to 10th grade? Was there a case where your boys were achieving at a much higher level than the girls, or vice versa? Or your paid lunch students were achieving at a much higher level than your free and reduced lunch kids? So that pinpointed data, that gap data, will help you later to further target your interventions so that they are really reaching and pulling forward in terms of achievement the students who aren't achieving at a level that's equivalent to their peers. So okay, so here's your discussions today, and you'll work through these discussions at your own pace. Your steering team members will facilitate the discussion. So basically there's 4 things. The first thing is to think about all that data that you studied before coming to your meeting and looking at what pleases you in that data, what disturbs you, and what achievement gaps you found. So that part of the discussion, the first discussion, is going to be just a real general discussion. People will toss out ideas about what pleases them in the data, what disturbs them, what gaps do they find, and then the steering team members will be recording that as you speak. Then the second part that will happen is the steering team will pass out to you a copy of the current goals, so your 16-17 achievement goals. And you'll look at, there's 2 different levels of goals. You're going to look at the SMART goals. And for each one, the steering team is going to ask you, is this a goal we should keep? Is this a goal we should omit? Or is this a goal maybe that needs to be kept but revised? So you'll look at each one of your goals. Then for the third part of the discussion, you'll think about, okay, what did we bring today with us in terms of pleases us and disturbs us about the data and achievement gaps that we found? And now I'm thinking about and I'm looking at all of these current goals. Is there anything that's missing? You know, maybe when you did your current goals, you know, the data back then was not showing a discrepancy between achievement of boys and girls, and now the data is. And so do you need to tweak a goal or add a new goal to kind of start now to close that achievement gap? So those are basically the three discussions. In the new data, what pleases, disturbs you, where do you find gaps? And then you're looking at each of the goals, and then you're thinking, do we need new goals? So, and it's okay to get rid of a goal. A lot of times schools will get rid of goals because they've reached the goal. So it's no longer something that they need to spend a lot of time and energy on. More often than not, though, it takes several years to really impact an achievement goal. So in most cases, the achievement goals will get carried forward. But again, you just need to look at the data, see what stories are in your data, and then make that determination. So, okay. So after today's discussion, just to give you a heads up, and then you'll go into those discussions with your steering team. After today, your steering team will review everything that was said in the discussions of today, and then they're going to recommend goals to you for the coming year. So for the 17-18 school year, they'll recommend goals, and they'll ask you for your consensus. So remember that as a steering team, you're the decision makers here. So, you know, as the council, you are the decision makers. The steering team is monitoring and managing the process, but it's the council that's going to make these decisions. So the steering team is going to bring back to you some recommendations, and then you guys can work that out in terms of consensus. We're normally told that by most schools that because of our process and how everybody is part of the discussion, that reaching consensus is pretty easy. So our thinking is that when you get those goals, they're going to be okay with you. But if not, you know, we need to make sure that we do have consensus.